Good morning, everyone. It's very exciting to be back in Chicago. I have to say this is my favorite city in the whole world. And I call this my home away from home. Thank you. So what I wanted to do today is to give you a glimpse into how technology is really becoming the fabric of our lives, right? If I were to play a word game with you and say, I will say fabric of your life, shout out words that come to your mind, word association. Usually, people will say water, food, home, love, family. Some others may say money, wealth, beauty, fashion. But I bet a few years from now, all of us will say technology, right? And why is that? I just want to share some facts with you. Of the 7 billion people on the planet, about 2.4 billion use the internet today, and 1.7 billion of those 2.4 currently are in Asia, expected to grow dramatically over the next few years. A single Google query uses 1,000 computers in 0.2 seconds to retrieve an answer for you, and we take this so much for granted today. The world now has about 5.6 billion mobile phone users, and in 2015, we will be downloading 180 billion downloads. And by the way, 6-7 years ago, mobile apps didn't exist at all. So that number is really mind-blowing. 19% of married couples worldwide meet online. University of Chicago recently published a research report that said in the US, marriages between 2005 and 2012 began online, and apparently, the couples who meet online stay happier and stay married longer. There's 255 million active monthly users on Twitter. 500 million tweets are sent every day. I contribute a lot to that. I have 1.5 million followers on Twitter. And 40% of Twitter users actually use it for news. And I can keep going. But basically, there's 1 billion unique visitors on YouTube. And these days, in 1 year, we create more information than previous 5,000 years combined. And so where is this all going to go? We expect, our research says, by 2020, we'll have 50 billion connected devices. That number today is about 10 billion. So why do I say technology really becomes the fabric of our lives? So let's say I'm in Chicago. I wake up every morning. Previously, we used to, actually this is true in my lifetime, wake up and go outside, open the door, retrieve the newspaper. And sometimes we would have a stack of newspapers. These days, we reach to a tablet or a phablet, and I hate that word, whatever is our favorite device, and read news, which has been aggregated from many different sources. It doesn't necessarily have to be one company, sorry, Chuck, or one journalistic view. We can actually aggregate different viewpoints across the world. And so this is where we get our news today. In the future, when we go to the Internet of Everything era, we call it, we're about to enter the Internet of Everything era, where 99% of the physical objects today are unconnected. So 99% of the world is still to be connected. So as we start connecting these, in the future, perhaps our room will start reading the news to us. And actually, the speakers that follow me will share with you some amazing technologies that are already here. OK, then I plan to meet a friend. So I go and I say, OK, I want to go to this favorite restaurant. Previously, before, I would have to make a call to the restaurant and be on hold for several minutes before I would find out if I had an open table or not. These days, I reach to an open table and make my reservation. And that way, I'm safe. So I go. I don't want to drive. So I go and get Uber, X, or Lyft, or my favorite on-demand transportation service, and get into a car. What about a few years from now? A few years from now, we'll have autonomous cars that will come to us on demand, cars that will drive themselves. This is already being tested, and in some states already accepted. So we get into a self-driving car that's autonomous. My friend can track where I am through apps like Glimpse, so they can see how long it's going to take me to get there, and I can track when they're going to get there, and oops, I realized they're going to be late. Well, future, in the Internet of Everything, none of us will ever be late again, and we can't use bad traffic as an excuse for being late, because traffic lights are going to have sensors that will communicate with our self-driving car and route us to different routes. And by the way, this happened to me, true story. Last 2 days, I live about 1.5 miles from here. Both days, I was late for my appointments because I left my home. One day, the bridge was up for some reason, and today, both Randolph, State Street, everything was blocked for some reason. So totally didn't know about that. In the future, I wouldn't have to figure out how to get to an alternate route. My car would automatically know that and would guide me and allow me with smart metering and smart parking, because I will be living in a smart city. My car will park itself, drop me off, whatever I need it to do. And so I get home after having lunch or dinner or whatever it is I'm doing with my friend, come home. Today, already, my smart thermostat adjusts the temperature so that I'm not wasting energy. When I am leaving the house, it lowers the temperature and adjusts that. This exists today. In the future, it won't be just my thermostat. My entire home will have smart devices that will be controlled so the refrigerator can adjust its temperature, and I will have gadgets that will have more intelligence, and all of this is being worked on in the Internet of Things. And as we speak, Cisco is hosting an Internet of Things World Forum, where many companies who are partnering with us are building these kind of gadgets and techniques. So I then go to have my meal, right? All of us would love to have our food be organic and be grown in the farm nearby. But how do we know the source of where this food is coming from? Today, we already can look at that and look at menus and select the things that we have that are organic. But today, equipment manufacturers are making equipment for farming, are putting sensors in the tires. John Deere, for example, has this already. So these sensors, when the farmers are using to till their fields, keep track of the conditions in the soil, move that data back to a data source in the cloud, and that data can be shared, by the way, across multiple different farms and be analyzed and give the farmer or someone who's in the business of growing our food better information on how to optimize that. All of this exists today. But in the future, that data can actually be predicted and actually help us with the whole supply chain optimization. A lot of times, food, after it's grown, gets spoiled while it's being distributed because our distribution systems are not as efficient. And if we can make those efficient, we can keep the food from spoiling and avoid a lot of food-related diseases which are completely preventable. So technology can help us to do that. And so let's say then you wanted to order something with your food, and that happens to be a wine. And there's a wine manufacturer today who guarantees all of their wine is organic and certified. How are they able to do that? Because they have sensors on 1.7 million wine bottles that they distribute, which keep track of where that's going, where that wine is going, and how that's being handled, et cetera. So we finish our lunch, then we get in the car, and we drive home. And we can use an app like ParkMe to park our car. Now we want to go shopping, or I want to go shopping anyway. So I go with my friend to a retail store, a mall, and now I have iBeacons. When I enter the store, that sends a signal to my phone and tells me that the sweater I was looking at on YouTube or on the web a few weeks ago is on sale. So I want to get that sweater. So I go in the store. I'm now motivated to walk in the store and pick that up. And I pick up this sweater, and the sweater has an RFID. When I'm trying on, the mirror actually suggests for me other clothes and other things that go with it. And actually, by the way, helps me buy accessories, shoes and such, in other stores, perhaps, that I have information on. So I've now purchased clothes. I want to go to a salon. And I can use an app like StyleMe that allows me to book my appointment. I can get to where I need to get to. I come home, and I start watching a show. That's my favorite show on Netflix, on demand. And we will have screens that will all be synchronized. So if I'm watching something on this device or in my car, we'll be able to project that same content. Because I can watch now content in my car because it drives itself, and I don't need to drive it anymore. And when I get home, that same content will pause itself and start playing when I walk into my home. So we'll be able to entertain ourselves in a much more seamless way going forward. So now we want to, after this, think about relaxing and having a drink in a relaxed environment, and we'll be able to do that as well. So all of this is being made possible how? We take so many things for granted, like I said. We are moving into a world where we call it entering the fourth phase of the internet. If you kind of look at the evolution of the internet in the last several decades, the first phase of the internet was really about connectivity. I came to the US as a graduate student from India several years ago, almost 20 years ago, and I first came to India, I would actually write a letter to my mom who lived in India, and I would mail it. And believe it or not, many of you are very young, we used to actually have special paper for writing and posting international mail. It was thin paper, so postage would cost less. So I would write a letter and mail it. My mom would write back to me and mail it back. It would take me almost a week to communicate with my mom who lived in India. And today it's instantaneous through text and SMS, right? Think of that kind of first phase of internet now extending into everything that is more about real-time decision-making in business, in the kinds of food we eat, how that food is manufactured, the goods that we consume. That'll all help us connect things with data and process and people. So that connected, networked connection of people, process, data, and things is what we refer to as the Internet of Everything. So in the future, the fabric of our life will completely transform. And the fabric of our life will be, a lot of it will come from applications, data, decision trees, decision processes, all kinds of hardware that you will see the rest of the morning that will help us through drones and other things, do things that we're not able to do, or we do today as human beings, but puts our lives at risk. That future is what we refer to as the Internet of Everything. And our research says that there is $19 trillion of value at stake as we enter this era of Internet of Everything. And that $19 trillion comes from various industries. Retail, I gave you an example of how retailers can transform their businesses today. What we used to cut out as coupons, tomorrow will be sent to us based on our preferences. And not only that, they can actually sell us more products or help us buy less and use our money better. So retail industry will be transformed. Manufacturing industry will be transformed. Transportation will change in the future. So all of the verticals essentially will go into being much more efficient, much more effective as we enter the era of Internet of Everything. And I heard Chuck say he's actually scared by how this technology is going to be so integral to all our lives, right? And I'm actually very optimistic about this future because I think it will help me become more productive. Now, of course, security is a challenge, and privacy is a challenge, and we have to accomplish all of these things without compromising in security and privacy. And so there are technologies being worked on where we can actually analyze data without violating people's privacies. And so we are looking at ideas like this that allow us to accomplish what we need to accomplish as human beings without giving up the quality of life or the privacy that we value so much. So within this Internet of Everything, one of the other things that will change is this transformation will happen globally across all regions, across the globe. And by the way, a lot of the people that will be coming online to the Internet in the next decade will be from developing countries. There'll be countries in Asia and countries in Africa that will be coming online. And they will be leapfrogging, in some cases, how we in the US think about technology. And that started to happen with the mobile, and we think it'll continue with the Internet of Things and the Internet of Everything. So I want to just quickly summarize, Internet of Things is really a technology transition where we will see multiple devices and multiple kinds of sensors coming online to the network. The value we will see from that, the business value, the innovation value, is what we refer to as the Internet of Everything. It's taking that connectivity from sensors and things or machines and translating that into value when we connect people, process, and data. And thus, Internet of Everything will really become the fabric of our life. And at some point, hopefully, 3-4 years from now, if I come back on stage and I play that same game of word association with you, when I say fabric of life, you will all say Internet of Everything. So I'm looking forward to that future, and many of you will be contributing to that future because we'll be creating businesses and applications we haven't even thought about as yet.